It was an ordinary Tuesday morning when Mariah stepped out of her apartment, the crisp autumn air brushing against her face. Her hands were full, her reusable coffee cup, a worn-out planner, and a tote bag stuffed with errands. She had a long list that morning: pick up groceries, drop off a package, and hopefully squeeze in a few minutes to herself before work. Life had a way of feeling like a race, and she was constantly trying to catch up. Pulling into her local gas station, Mariah noticed the familiar sight of bikers leaning on their chrome machines in the morning sun. They were a common sight in her small town, but they rarely interacted with anyone outside their group. Most people avoided them, a quiet acknowledgement of their fearsome reputation. Leather jackets, tattoos, and the unmistakable insignia of the Hells Angels always commanded attention. She started pumping her gas when she noticed one of them, tall, imposing, with a jacket that read Hells Angels across the back, fumbling with his wallet. His bike was massive, the kind that made the ground rumble when it started. He counted his bills carefully, muttering under his breath, clearly short of cash. Most people would have rolled their eyes and gone about their day. Not Mariah. Something tugged at her heart, a quiet voice urging her to help. She glanced around. The station was mostly empty except for a few early commuters. Without thinking twice, she walked over to the counter. "Here," she said, her voice steady despite a hint of nervousness. "I've got this." She handed over her card to the attendant. The biker looked up, surprise flashing across his face. His expression softened slightly, a small nod of acknowledgement. He didn't speak. Words weren't necessary. But in that silent exchange, a strange connection was made. The roar of his engine drowned out the world as he revved and rode off, leaving Mariah staring after him, a smile creeping onto her face. She went about her day, the act already fading into her usual routine. Work was hectic, errands endless, but every now and then she caught herself thinking about that stranger. There was something different in him. Not the fearsome aura people whispered about, but a subtle, human vulnerability. The next morning, Mariah was brewing her coffee when the doorbell rang. Frowning, she glanced at the clock. Too early for any delivery or visitor. Her heart skipped a beat as she cautiously approached the door. Peeking through the peephole, she froze. Dozens of bikers, engines rumbling, leather jackets gleaming under the soft sunlight, were standing on her porch. Her mind raced. How did they find her? What could they possibly want? The tall biker from yesterday was in the front, leaning casually on his bike, arms crossed, a faint grin on his face. Mariah hesitated, then opened the door. "We never forget a kindness," he said, his voice calm yet commanding. "You helped one of us yesterday. Today, the whole chapter is here to say thanks." Her heart raced, not with fear but with awe. These were men known for their fierce reputations, yet here they were, showing respect and gratitude. The air was heavy with the scent of gasoline and leather, but instead of intimidation, there was warmth, a strange sense of loyalty and camaraderie that she hadn't expected. One of the bikers handed her a bouquet of bright wildflowers. Another carried a bag of groceries. Others helped fix the broken fence in her yard, tightening screws and hammering nails with a precision that suggested they were used to handling heavy-duty work. Some even offered to take her errands for her, insisting she take a break. Mariah's eyes welled up as she watched these intimidating strangers transform into helpers, protectors, and friends in front of her very eyes. She invited them in, offering coffee and snacks, but they politely declined, saying they had other places to be. But they lingered, talking in low tones, laughing among themselves and sharing stories. Mariah noticed the small gestures. One biker adjusting a loose rug in her living room, another picking up her child's scattered toys from the floor. It was surreal. Through the conversation, she learned more about them, the lives behind the leather jackets, the struggles, and the bonds that tied them together. They weren't just bikers or Hells Angels. They were people who valued loyalty, honor, and the unspoken code of looking out for one another. And now, through a simple act of kindness, Mariah had become part of that code. By the time the sun began to dip toward the horizon, the bikers started to leave. Each nodded, waved, or offered a small smile as they mounted their motorcycles. The tall biker from yesterday lingered a moment longer. "You did something most people wouldn't," he said quietly. "You saw a human need and acted. That counts for more than you know." And with that, the engines roared to life, shaking the ground, and the group rode away, leaving Mariah standing on her porch, overwhelmed and humbled. That evening, as she sat quietly on her porch, sipping the now cold coffee, she realized something profound. Kindness is never wasted. Even the smallest gesture done without expectation can ripple through the world in ways we could never imagine. She had set off a chain reaction that touched dozens of lives, and perhaps, in her own small way, changed the world of the Hells Angels forever. For Mariah, the day started like any other, but it ended with a lesson she would never forget. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's a quiet act of generosity that shakes the world.